I'm making this video as an Asian American to address my fellow Asian Americans who engage in anti-Black racism. Let's talk about this. For example, this right-wing Asian says, let me list all the problems that Black Americans face that is shared by people of no other race. Okay, list over. Yes, it is true. If a Black person has a problem, an Asian or white person has the same problem somewhere in America. There's nothing special about your race. This is, in short, white supremacy talking points. Let's address this. Here's just a very short list of the unique suffering that Black Americans have had to and still have to go through. 266 years enslavement, 99 years of Jim Crow, 300% maternal mortality rate, 2% the wealth of whites, explicitly denied the GI Bill, FHA loans, and college admissions, and Social Security access. SCOTUS ruled approval to commit Black genocide in Buck versus Bill, which, by the way, has never actually been overruled. Arrested 10 times more than whites for the exact same acts. And don't even get me started on the dozens and dozens of Black massacres committed by white supremacists throughout American history, through the 1980s, by vigilante groups, and by state government. Massacres for which reparations were never paid, and none of the white supremacists were ever held accountable. And as an Asian American and human rights lawyer, I'm acutely aware of the anti-Asian racism throughout American history. Everything from the Chinese Exclusion Act to the Asiatic Exclusion League to the outright ban on Asian immigration in 1924. So how ridiculous do you think it sounds when Asians are anti-Black, when it was Black Americans and Black civil rights leaders who ensured that Asians would get their immigration rights back as part of the 1965 Civil Rights Acts? The civil rights movement influenced U.S. immigration policy intimately because Black civil rights leaders recognized their own history and did not want that same suffering on Asian Americans. Therefore, leaders like Dr. King demanded that Asian Americans, Latino Americans, basically anyone non-white immigrating to the United States would be given dignity and humanity. And finally, let's address this nonsense claim that Black people are the reason why Asian Americans can't get admission to Harvard or other Ivy League schools. Affirmative action is not your problem, because if you really blamed affirmative action, you would be blaming white women. Why? Because more white women have benefited from affirmative action than every other racial demographic and minority combined. Yet at no point do these Asian Americans who are anti-Black and blame Black people for affirmative action even bring up white women. Moreover, over 43% of white admissions to schools like Harvard would not have gotten admissions on credentials alone. They got admitted because they're legacy students. And the data shows that 3/4 of those white students were not qualified academically, meaning they took the spot of a more qualified Black, Latino, or Asian person. But it's funny how these anti-Black Asians have zero regard for this white supremacist policy of legacy, but they want to blame Black people. This is white supremacy in a nutshell. And to those Asians who say, hey, look, I stand with Black people, I don't believe in this kind of anti-Black racism, that isn't enough. You need to speak out and condemn this injustice with your voice and your actions. Class dismissed.